Welcome back to the Transfer Your Mind to Transform Your Life, the podcast. You're listening to Author's Corner, where we highlight and showcase local authors. Today, I am speaking to Danny M. Gray, author of The Lingering Horrors of the Past. And Danny and I are going to be talking today on the topic, why our past lives sometimes catches up with us. Danny's book is about a story of, someone trying to, run and change their identity and things catch up with them. And I thought it was a stimulating, conversation that we can have and glean some, life truths from this fictional story. So welcome, Danny.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. All right. So let me give you guys a brief introduction. Danny M. Gray is a distinguished writer and actor known for his masterful storytelling and creative prowess. With a rich background and a passion for storytelling, Danny draws inspiration from remarkable people and experiences that have shaped his life's journey. As a proud native of Maple Hill, North Carolina, Danny finds solace and inspiration in his hometown, where he often returns to connect with family and reflect on what truly matters. His creativity knows no bounds, allowing him to craft compelling narratives that captivate audiences. With a distinguished military career behind him, Danny brings dedication and commitment to everything he does. Through his writing and acting, he aims to inspire others and showcase the boundless possibilities of life. Danny currently resides in the vibrant suburbs of Atlanta, where he continues to pursue his dreams of becoming a renowned writer and actor. Awesome. Well, Danny, as we were talking before we pressed the record button, you have 4 books. Very impressive. But today we're going to be talking on your newest book, which is called The Lingering Horrors of the Past. And it delves into themes of past trauma and redemption. Can you discuss how these themes resonate with your own life experiences? What did you draw from for this book?
I think that your past always plays a big role in your presence, right? And so I was fortunate enough to grow up in a strong neighborhood. And first, as you can see from the book, this is dedicated to all the men that have some relationship with me and helped build who I am today. But as I journey back home and I start to reminisce on our growing up, how we were fitted in, the differences in the community, the people in the community, you always have those things that shape your life. And then if you allow your past to control your future, you can never be successful. And so when I look back at my past, although I've had a great child bringing, I've had some strong men and strong women in my life, I have traveled the world and I've seen people that have gone through a tremendous amount of pain. And fortunate for me, I didn't go through those, but there are things that's in my life that do resonate within the book, like having that strong foundation in your mind, being able to accomplish things that you may not even know that you could accomplish, but looking for ways to reshape your surroundings to better serve our humankind.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty good. I was thinking along the lines of where, you did something bad in the past, right? Which is basically what your book centers on. So you did something bad in the past and you never really resolved it. You try to run away from it. Do you believe that it catches up to you in some form or another where, because you didn't really resolve it, you know what I mean? It's like trauma, though we're not really talking the trauma here, but if you don't resolve things, then you keep repeating them. That's where I'm going.
Exactly.
So, which is basically the main theme of your book. So, how did you come up with that particular theme? Is it because you've seen, maybe maybe not you, but friends or relatives or someone have that life experience?
I think in some of the characters or some of the people that have been in my background, they've gone through a tremendous amount of trauma, whether it was within their family, even going through their childhood, the things that they view as being trauma, but they get trapped in their past. They can never go past that because it always resonates in their mind. And what I try to do in this novel is to show a character that is somewhat trapped in her past, but she has worked to create a better position for her life. However, even though she's tried to shave those away from her personality, they always seem to come back, and you must always, at some point, address those head on and try to. If you're going to create a better you have to address those so that you can move forward. And when I think about some of the people in my life that have gone through traumas, whether it was losing their father at an early age or, seeing people going through, child molestation or even going through the traumas of trying to get out. I see so many people that are caught up and they can't get past that and they can't see past that. So hopefully when you read this book, you'll see that there is a way out, that all you have to do is address those head on and look at different avenues and do not let your past define who you are today.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. Yes, that's an excellent, excellent, excellent response and an excellent way to, to write a fictional book, but teaching, life skills and yeah, and it's always good to teach with a story. So
Exactly.
yeah, like a novel is like a great story that you can teach that way. But yes, which is basically why I asked the question because yeah, you can run from your past, but there's a saying in our community you can run from it, but it always catches up with you unless
Exactly.
you resolve it, unless you forgive the people that hurt you or forgive yourself or do some of those things. So it's interesting to see how you helped your main character um uh, reconcile with her past.
Correct.
Now, we were also talking before we pressed record about how your military background. You started writing when you were stationed in I think you said Germany, where
Yes, ma'am.
there's nothing to do.
Yes, ma'am.
Other than go in, and you went into your mind and came up with books, which is a
Yes.
great thing to do. So, how do you believe that your military background shaped your storytelling style? Is that why you went to the horror genre? Because there's a lot of horrors in the war, and the war and military. How did that influence get into your books?
I think a lot of people do not respect the military, and the military was a stepping stone for me. I went into the military for several selfish reasons, but there was 2 points in my military career that really stood out. One was I received a letter from my mother about 4 months after I had been stationed in Germany. And at that point, we didn't have the cell phones and everything. So her sending that letter, it was an indication that, you haven't reached out, you haven't let us know that you're okay. And this bothers us. Please send me a letter to let me know that you're okay. That simple statement really changed the way I started to view things. And then my daughter, she was, when I left for Germany, I had not seen her until I got back about 3 years later on vacation. And it was very emotional for me because I realized I walked up to her and I talked to her mother and I said, I want to see Natasha. And my daughter came up to me and I said, do you know who I am? And she said, yeah, you're my dad. And it changed my whole outlook of the military. So one thing that family is very important. With being in the military, I think you create that family. You create bonds with people that in many situations it's life or death, right? If you're in a certain situation, you're dependent on this person to protect you just as well as they're expecting you to protect them. And I would sit on this bad Durkheim in Germany. I was on a remote site at the top of a hilltop. And at night, I would just sit there and I would just stare into the stars. And it was so dark, but you could see the stars so crisp and so clean. And I began to write poems of what my feelings were there because although you're isolated, you know you have the support of the military, but it just allowed me to breathe life into what I truly was feeling. And so everything that I do, every movie that I do, or every book that I write, I will always incorporate a piece of the military. That's just how profound the military was for me. And I'll always make sure that I'm addressing the soldiers that I've represented, those soldiers that I fought with. Those type of people will always be a major portion of my life. And that's the same thing when I write. It's so thrilling because my life in the military was so great and I've met some awesome people. But my thrillers and my horrors about the things that we see while in the military, the pains that we face when we are not around our family and we're in a place like Germany or a place like Korea or a place like Afghanistan. And you look around and you're depending on these men and women to support you, and you don't have the true support of your immediate family. And so some of those horrors stick with you. And you being a military soldier, you're dedicated. And I think that's another portion of the military that has helped grow me. I became a dedicated person no matter what I do, whether it's working in the software industry, whether it's doing a script for a movie, or whether it's writing a book. I dedicate myself to that. And I thank the military for that dedication.
Well, listen, you don't have to sell me in the military. I've got the military. I think it changes a man. I mean, you can't go in there and come out the same way that you went in. I mean, I love the military. If I had felt that way about the military when my son was a teenager, or ran out of school or something, I would have definitely sent him. People sit around and worry about their kid dying in a war or something. But I always think that the military is great character builder. So yes,
100%.
yes,
100%.
yes, yeah.
And if a person would understand what the military does for you, not only with your past, but your future, and how you create relationships that you would never think that you will have, 20, 30, 40 years later, and how they really become your family. And when we talk about the horrors that we see when you're in a war situation, when you are doing battle training, and you're seeing the possibilities of what can happen, and you're seeing the horror that exists around you when you are in those war situations. It is enough horror to change your character, to make you realize what you're really joining the military for.
Yeah, I know. And then, the horror of seeing your people die in front of you, not the enemy,
Exactly.
but your friends, that you can see your family. Yeah, I don't remember where I heard this statement, but I interview a lot of people and I read a lot of books, so there's things coming in all the time. But I heard that the bond between soldiers is the most powerful bond because it's life and death, like you just said.
It is.
That they're depending on that person to save you, and the atmosphere creates bonds for life, and it's actually they're saying deeper than maybe even immediate family bonds because of how it's forged. So
exactly.
see that. To hear you say that it's very true. Okay.
Exactly. And a lot of times I'll find myself going to Augusta. That's the first base that I was stationed at. But a lot of the guys and women that I was in the military with, they retired at Fort Gordon. And I just enjoy going down there. And there's something about a sense of protection. I'll tell you, when you think about being on the battlefield and the horrors that you face, and you really believe in these people protecting you, making sure that you're safe, making sure that you have all that you need, you do forge a bond that is unexplainable. And right now, my best friends are gentlemen that I've graduated from AIT with, and that I've grown up in the military with, and I'm very proud to say that.
Yeah. Yes, I've heard it. I've heard it. I was fascinated with the Navy SEALs. After reading David Goggins' book, so I've been interviewed a few of them.
That was a little past my ability.
Yeah. That's why I was fascinated. I was absolutely fascinated by that story. So, that's probably where some of my, respect for the military comes from reading these books and hearing these stories. It's amazing. Yeah. So let's talk about your book. Your book is called Lingering Horrors of the Past. Uh, is that what it's called again?
Yes, ma'am.
What's it called? The Lingering Horrors of the Past. Right. I think so, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. For a minute, I thought that I missed it. But yeah, it's called The Lingering Horrors of the Past. Why did you write it? And what do you want readers to walk away with from this story?
I came up with this concept, and when I'm traveling, I meet a lot of people, and I just happened to meet this young lady that was still suffering from her past, and she couldn't get past that portion of her life. And a great programmer, truly a remarkable person in general. But we started talking about some of the things that went on in her life. And I began to start creating this narrative around a woman named Rita in this book, that I wanted to show that she was just like anyone else. But some of the things that were in her past started to linger with her. And although she thought she had stepped past that, they began to resurface in her life. And so what you read in the first few chapters of the book is not all of her past, because there's many things that happen in our past that we're not even aware of. And we may not become aware of them until much later in life. And this is the situation with Rita. There's other things that are deep within her past that she's not even aware of. And that's how we bring this story to life.
Yes. Oh, that's beautiful. I mean, right. Yes. I hadn't read the book, but I read the synopsis, and I understand that, which is basically why I wanted to talk to you, because I know that we can have, that could be alternate reality. And we are, having the reality of, trying to create a new life, but the strain of the past is keep pulling us back. Mainly, a lot of times I mentioned earlier about, unforgiveness and past trauma and all that, but behaviors, sometimes you try to leave, start a new leaf and maybe do something different, but, your behaviors, even things like addiction and stuff like that, there's like this invisible string that keeps pulling you back. So unless you resolve it and do these things, then yeah, you're always going to be trapped in your past.
Yeah, exactly. And Rita finds herself being drawn to her past, and she's refused to allow a relationship to resonate within her because of her past. And she decides that at this point, she's going to face her past head on and get everything laid out on the table. And it's not until she starts delving deep into her spirit and the things that made her who she is that she realized that she's only touching the surface of her past.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Very good book. Like if you're going to read a fiction book, then make it relatable to, life. And that is spot on what really happens.
It is.
Relationships, everything,
exactly.
Unless you deal with it, because you're showing up as, you're not really there,
Right.
you're tied to that past. So that is beautiful. All right. So
And a lot of people, yeah, a lot of people do not realize
Mhm.
that the way they are is genuinely based on and the people, their past, how they were raised, how they grew up, the things that shaped who they are. They always think that they've stepped past that, but you have to be mindful and be willing to go deeper and understand how does your past really shape you and the horrors that come from your past. You can't love like we are taught to love if you're dealing with things that resonate from your past. You can't find a partnership or grow in a profession if you're still holding on to those things that happened in your past, the horrors of your past. And until you address those one on, head face to face, head up, and start to clear those. And you can't be as successful as the possibilities are, because possibilities are limited, but you have to, unlimited, but you have to make sure that you're standing in the presence of where you can be today.
Yes.
And that's what I want people to get away from this book. First thing I started, one of the main reasons I started to write is I wanted to leave my nephews something that they will know that this is Uncle Danny. And if Uncle Danny can do this, I can do this. Not necessarily writing or acting or being a software manager or anything like that, but they can see that the possibilities are there for them as well. And so when you read this book, I want the readers to take hope to the character of Rita and understand why is she in the position that she's in, and then walk with her through this journey and see that she can step out of her past by addressing it head on. But I want readers to look at this and say, hey, I may have a past that's holding me back. And if she can do this, I can do this. I don't care what the problem may be, but if she can do it and they can see herself in her, maybe not the same background, maybe not the same issues, but if they can recognize that we do have an issue here and I have an issue and I need to begin to address those in my life if I'm going to be successful. There's two things that I dedicated to this book, or to any book that I write. And I touched on a piece of it, but I think this is very profound and very important. One of my main things that I come from a loving community in Maple Hill, North Carolina. And we had 4 or 5 churches in our community. Each week we spent time at the various churches. This Sunday it may be an AME, this Sunday it may be a Baptist. But each Sunday we went to these different churches and we celebrated. And so I always put a poem inside every book. It's not so religious that you can't read it and understand it, but I think we all pray at some level. So I always put a prayer in every one of my books. And then the second thing is I always put, because of you. I was fortunate in my life to find a lady that truly believed in me and never put any obstacles in front of me that will keep me from writing or acting. And she just made the pathway so easy for me. And so I have the statement in every book, every movie, because of you. And it's because of her that I'm able to do these things. Sometimes we get with a partner and they don't want you to do something or they don't want to help you. And so when you read this book, although it's not from a Christianity fashion, I think that we all pray at some point, or we all lift our voices up, especially when things are going wrong and the horrors of our life begin to stand up.
Mhm. Oh, that's so beautiful. I love that. It's finishing strong. Right. Yes.
Hey,
Your spirituality, your time in the military, your family, all these things shape you and shape who we are.
yes,
And
yes,
so it's amazing. I'm seeing it coming through. And I'm glad that you have found a partner that is supportive and nurturing and allows you the freedom to So, to go higher.
Exactly.
Not a lot of people get that. So
Exactly.
to appreciate, show appreciation. So that's amazing. All right. So I am assuming that you're not assuming. I know that your book is available on Amazon. Do you
Correct.
have a website or social media handles that you want to leave with the listeners?
Yes. My website is DannyMandelGray.com. And I am planning to keep that updated with all my movies, with all the books that I promote. I'm also having another website created strictly for my writing. I want people to be able to see all the writings that I do, whether it's a poem, whether it's a song, or whether it's a novel. That's in the process of being developed now. So you can always go to DannyMandelGray.com and you can find my latest projects. But I'm also on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter. So my book is being promoted there. Other pieces of work that I'm doing is being promoted there as well.
What's your handle on Instagram?
Instagram is lingering.
Lingering.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So that's amazing. All right. Well, listen, Danny, I really enjoyed our conversation. Thank you for being on the show, and I'm honored to highlight your work. Yes, guys, go pick up a copy of Danny's book, The Lingering Horrors of the Past. I will a link. I would have a link to his website on the show page. So you can definitely head over there and, see his work, or even, Google his name and
Exactly.
and see his books and pick up, a copy of his books, because it sounds like, his books are, even though they're fiction, they have a message. They have a message that will help you in your life. Right. All right. So any last words, Danny, before we wrap up?
No, I think I welcome this opportunity. So thank you for having me. If anybody have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I am a man that believes in helping, and that comes strongly from my military background. So if there's something you're trying to do, I make myself available. I will always take time for you, but please support, and support.
Yes, of course. Yes, we definitely need to support, which is basically what I'm doing here with this segment of Author's Corner, highlight and showcase our local authors and offer encouragement. And yes, sell a few books at the same time too, right?
Exactly. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. All right, guys. Well, listen, thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Author's Corner. If you're watching this on YouTube, like Danny says, he definitely would love for you to reach out to him if you have a question, leave a comment, head over to his website, and, you can get in touch with him on the social media. I'll have links as well to his social media pages on the show page. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you, Danny, for being on the show. Until next time, namaste.